Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The test begins. God said to Satan, "What prevented you from prostrating when I ordered you?" He said, "I'm better than he. You created me from fire and created him from mud." So this verse obviously is after the rebellion and after deciding to give the human beings a body, this body that's made from the earth's material, and giving Satan a body made from energy or made from fire, literally. If you go many years before that, Satan thought he can be a god beside God, and this created the different opinions among God's creatures in God's kingdom, where the vast majority upheld God's absolute authority, and the tiny minority agreed with Satan to different degrees. And after that, God decided to call Satan's bluff and give him a dominion and constituent. Those who agreed with him are to become his constituents, and the planet Earth is to become his dominion. And the plan called for, in fact, this was after putting all those creatures to death. And then this verse here has to do with telling the angels that they will serve the human being on this earth, that drive the wind, guarantee the provisions, guard them, serve them, because they serve us. Angels serve us, even though we are the rebels, and they are the ones who upheld God's absolute authority, but they are participating in the plan that God is carrying out. And this is exactly why we were talking about this last night, where they beat up the disbelievers at the end, because they served them with the hope that they will come back to God's kingdom. They will redeem themselves, they will repent, they'll apologize for the mistake they committed. But then when the life comes to an end and the person is a disbeliever, then they beat him up, because they served him all this life, they provided him with all the means to redeem himself, but then at the end he dies unappreciative of God. So we understand all this by looking at this verse. So what prevented you from prostrating means you are not cooperating, you are not participating in serving the human being. This may indicate also that Satan did not want to guarantee the happiness and welfare of any human being. He wanted to keep his options open, because he is supposed to act as a god, meaning he is supposed to make everybody happy and wealthy and healthy and perfectly all right. But he didn't want this guarantee. He wants to be free to punish whomever he wills, persecute whomever he wills, and help whomever he wills. So this is why he did not prostrate before the human being. When God told him that he would be a temporary God, this meant that he was supposed to take care of his constituents and make them perfectly happy. So maybe he wanted some exit in case he cannot do it. He'll say, "Oh, I'm just persecuting God." But of course his failure is glaring now. Number 13, God said, "Therefore you must go down, for you are not to be arrogant here. Get out, you are debased." So this is the confirmation of his dismissal from God's kingdom. Number 14, Satan said, "Grant me a respite until the day of resurrection." God said, "You are granted a respite." He said, "Since you have willed that I go astray, I will skulk for them on your straight path." In this verse 16, Satan acknowledges that everything happens in accordance with God's will. And it is God's will that we have a free choice. God willed that we will, and that all His creatures will, because this rebellion indicates that God's creatures have freedom of choice. In fact, the very first verse we read indicates that God's creatures can say no. God said, fall prostrate, and Satan said, no, I will not. So it indicates, if this did not happen, we will never know that God's creatures have freedom of choice. So Satan said in number 16 here, since you have willed that I go astray, I will sculpt for them on your straight path. I will come to them from their front, from their back, from their right, and from their left, and you will find that most of them are unappreciative. Okay, 7:17. Remember this verse, because you will see it. We experienced it, and we see it all around us. That Satan comes to the human being from his front, back, right, and left, and never runs out of tricks to divert us. This place right here is his number one target. But people come here, and what do they come here for? They come here to worship God alone, uphold the word of God alone. This is exactly what Satan does not want. And he will put up all kinds of obstacles and all kinds of tests, persecution, in many, many different and strange ways. And it is good, because this guarantees that all God's people are solid believers. They're unshakable, no matter what happens or who says what. I will come to them from their front and from their back and from their right and from their left, and you will find that most of them are unappreciative. I think one of Satan's objectives is to show God that some humans are worse than he is, than Satan. And it's true, some humans out-Satan Satan. Satan is hoping that God may have mercy on him when he sees that some creatures are worse than he is. I recall this fellow when I was talking in Los Angeles, and this professor at Chicago Seminary came out and gave a talk that the Quran is hallucinations by Muhammad. And immediately after him, I gave a talk that the Quran could not be the word of human being. It has to be the word of God, and here is the physical evidence. And I gave some details of the miracles, including the total of the numbers in the Quran. When you take all the numbers mentioned in the Quran and add them up, the total is divisible by 19. So these people from the American Islamic College in Chicago, also the same city, they stood up, and instead of attacking Dr. Hamilton, they attacked Rashad Khalif. They attacked me. The guy who said the Quran is hallucinations by Muhammad is okay. But the person who stood up to say the Quran is the word of God, they attacked me, and they said, you didn't count the Shadda. Ar-Rahman, there is the Shadda on the Ra, you must count 2 Ra's. Muhammad is 5 letters. Well, he had written before that Muhammad is 5 letters. And I think his objective was because in the appendix 2, or I had published that if you add Ibrahim, Muhammad, and Rashad, the values of this and that. So they want to mess this up. And he wants Muhammad to be written Muhammad, 2 M's. So when he stood up and mentioned his name, I said, oh, you're the fellow who thinks Muhammad should be 5 letters. And even the Americans laughed, who are not Arabic-speaking people. He said, yes. If you put 5 coins on top of each other and you look at them, how many do you see? I said, it depends on the angle. Yeah.
By the way, the sequence of talk was just, Dr. Hamilton was taught before Dr. Khalifa, and nobody knew, everyone was going to talk about. he's the one that talks about Quran is hallucination of Muhammad. That's exactly before Rasul talked. And then Rasul immediately after him. I mean, who just put that order?
Who planned it this way?
And how many people were talking? That was 3 days seminar or something.
Yes.
It was 3 days, and they put people at random, then he didn't organize it. It was not the chairman who organized it. They didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, they thought the chairman of the session was me.
Yeah.
They were about to kill him, you know. Atif was there and Ahsan was there.
So he finished all his games and just he was expecting everybody to be angry and mad and give him a shot. And he told his last thing, he said, oh, and you were the one who came your messenger? And you look at everybody sitting there, you know, that's nice to drink meat. You can do anything you want, you know? And he said, yes, he did. And, you know, I think the guy was just, you know,
You see how we run away?
trying to get everybody to get so angry. Oh, he was the one who messenger of this. But everybody sitting there and just listening. And I'm sure the guy was shocked. He was expecting a revolution.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now I remember.
That thing he finished all his arguments and no response from the audience. They said, oh, you're the one seeing your messenger. They were all keen to the last. He was trying to get his point with what he thought would be.
But then he ran away. You remember when he didn't see anything?
He rushed out so fast, Ahsan thought he was going to get a gun or something, and she got worried. I said, don't worry, Ahsan. I think the angels gave him a diarrhea or something. Because he rushed so fast.
We never saw him again.
He rushed so fast, he had a blind man with him. Of course, they're all blind. But this one is also his eyes are blind, not just his heart. And he was helping this blind man. He left his blind friend and ran.
I don't know.
Yeah, and never saw him again.
But also,
Basul.
some of the audience, the guy was, was very fair. They kept, every time certain restaurants, they'll say, okay, Basuli, he said, if you look at the Quran, you count cars, for example, like 2 cars, let's say it was half cars or something. So you count them, let's say 59. Khalifa counted 57. If you see it this way, let's say you're right, but he's also right. Now the Rashad Khalifa 57 has a miracle with it. He counted 59, he has no miracle with it.
Yeah.
So if you go really fair, if you count it Rashad's way, it's 57. If you want to count it your way, you can count it your way. Doesn't come out.
You have nothing.
There is no cup there to count.
Look, you know, his fuel was so fair, at least one of the guys who can count it.
Yeah.
He said, don't be upset, he counted and he was right, it was 57. And you want to count it, he counted 59.
Yeah, he said if you consider there are 2 methods of counting, one of them is what your eyes see, which is what Khalifa is suggesting, and one is your way. If you want to count the shadows as 2, fine, go ahead and do it. It was
Just
some,
somebody who doesn't even know who
he looked
was.
Pakistani or Afghani or something. One of the professors.
I think he was Iranian.
Could be.
His accent was Iranian. He looked Iranian.
Yeah. Anyways, so he said, well, it's like having 2 boxes. One is full of jewels, one is full of garbage. You open the one you like. You open this box, there's lots of jewels. You open this one, there's a lot of garbage in it. Take your pick. So this fellow is worse than Satan. I would say Satan, that's for sure. I mean, what are we trying to say? We're trying to say the Quran is from God, and here's physical evidence. What is he trying to do? He's trying to destroy it. Now, I mentioned the numbers specifically because it has nothing to do with spelling. Yeah, no, Adib's discovery with the Fatiha has nothing to do with the spelling or writing or nothing. Because sometimes they say, oh, the Quran is oral. Well, it's right there, written. One of the big things, I'm sure you heard that. They say the Quran is oral. Have you heard that argument?
It was memorized and
Yeah, transmitted orally.
orally, and then later on,
Right. So I asked him, what was the first word ever revealed in the Quran? Iqra. Read. What is read lips? Even now, if they read lips, it's 19 times when you read Al-Fatiha. So God is killing all their excuses. The first revelation.
Even all of them, you can count it. You know, you have to imagine it to count it right.
Yeah.
But at least Gary just blow it out.
Right.
And I think most probably going to give a sample. She was probably some more in the problem with her. Hopefully somebody one day will find more and more.
The first revelation spoke about Iqra and the pen.
Yeah.
الذي علم بالقلم. He taught by means of the pen. So what do you do with the pen? Clean your ear? They have, and the second revelation was entitled the pen. The first revelation is read, and it had the pen in it, and the second revelation was the pen. Obviously God knew they would say that. So they will do anything to destroy God's miracle.
We have a beat which says, read and I can't read.
Right. Yes.
We found it in the Bible, by the way.
Yes, God.
In the
Prophecy, the Bible, the book of Isaiah. Said the angel came to the unlearned man or something and told him read. He said, I cannot read. Very strange. Yes. Sheikh Khosrow found it. The book of
I have a
Isaiah.
copy of this one.
It's exactly the story they gave us in Hadith.
Exactly.
So they probably took it from there. There were many things taken from the Bible.
Yes, put in hadith. No, I know how to do the hadith.
Like the hadith about heaven having what an eye never seen and the ear never heard and never imagined by human being. Word for word. I saw it in the Bible.
That's my husband.
That God said, okay, go and study, come back.
Yes. Go learn how to read and write and come back. 18. God said, get out therefrom, despised and defeated. Those among them who follow you, I will fill hell with you all. As for you, Adam, dwell with your wife in paradise and eat therefrom as you please. But do not approach this one tree, lest you transgress. Now we know that all descriptions of paradise or heaven are allegorical. So do not approach this one tree is probably a law that God gave to Adam and Eve to uphold. And the law is symbolized by the tree. But we learn from this 7:19 that heaven exists. It was created then when God created the 7 universes, and it still exists today, and the righteous go straight to it, they do not die. 20. The devil whispered to them, so Satan started to work on them, in order to reveal their bodies, which were invisible to them. He said, your Lord did not forbid you from this tree, except to prevent you from becoming angels, and from attaining eternal existence. So one of the traits of Satan is lying. He's a liar. This is a lie. And that's why those who are fighting us are lying right and left. It's God's law that they argue against the truth with falsehood. In other words, they're following their teacher, Satan. This is good. If you look at page 467, verse 5 says, disbelieving before them were the people of Noah and many parties after them. Every community attacked their messengers to neutralize him, and they argued with falsehood to defeat the truth. They argued with falsehood to defeat the truth. Consequently, I punished them. How terrible was my retribution. So they're just following the steps of their master, Satan. The devil whispered to them in order to reveal their bodies, which were invisible to them. He said, your Lord did not forbid you from this tree except to prevent you from becoming angels and from attaining eternal existence. So what is the story of their bodies? Where were their bodies? They were down here on earth. They were up in heaven, and the bodies were here on earth. And this is something that has happened to me personally. I'm passing on this information to all of us. But apparently it happened often. It happened when the Prophet Muhammad was taken to receive the Quran. He was taken to a different place, which is even farther than paradise, but he also visited paradise. We see this in Surah 53, 17, 18, 17, where he saw the tree that Adam and Eve ate from. It happened to Ihsan. That definitely happened to you when you were fired from your work. Do you know the story of Ihsan?
No.
You don't? She was working, she was talking to Anne Margaret in Sweden on the telephone. And all of a sudden, people came in and they saw her incoherent. So they took her to the hospital. They called her children, both of them are doctors, and of course they think in terms of this world. What was it, a stroke? Is it a heart attack? Is it what? But she was like she's not here. She was walking, she walked with them, went to the hospital. Meanwhile, she, what did you see? You saw a gathering of a lot of people, and the tall, huge figure that she understood to be Abraham. And this is interesting because the only prophet who was identified to me was Abraham, also. And when she came to, she was in the hospital, and she now took it from there. What did you say? What happened?
This was like a confirmation to what I had. So, because then when I told him that, then he told me about his being taken and together with all the prophets and everything. And Behruz also saw the same
Well, that's
big figure.
we always have confirmation. Alhamdulillah. This coming Friday, Behruz will give the khutbah, and he will tell us about the confirmation of how the revelation comes. That's another issue. But when you came in the hospital, you opened your eyes and you were in the hospital. Then what was the first question was what?
My eyes were never closed. I was talking to them. I talked to my daughter, called her on the phone, everything that she told me that I told her.
No, you didn't call her on the phone. You gave the phone number to somebody and they called them.
Yeah, but they told asked them to put me on the phone. I told her they could do not write anything, sign anything. I have no idea what I wasn't there at all. My body was dead and I was talking, but at the same time I was somewhere else. My soul was somewhere else. And I saw a gathering of all. It seems like they are all prophets and messenger, I think. But I didn't see their faces. They were facing someone that was huge, very tall, and very proportioned, like the Statue of Liberty or maybe more. And they were all same size, wearing almost the same clothes and all the fashion. They were just turbans. I mean, all I can see their bags and their heads. But I knew he was talking to them.
But they were not prophets, Ihsan. You said they were just people, millions of them.
Yeah, a lot of people. He was the one, the big one. I think now that maybe they are.
There aren't that many messengers.
They were like a square, like the Leviticus. It was like a square, like a rod, and somebody was talking. And he was talking to them. And I was to me at the same time, but I was not with together with them. I don't know, high or something, I don't know. But I didn't see myself, but I was there.
What was the first question when you came to in the hospital? What did you? I just want to say how the bodies on earth feel like.
What happened? What do? My daughter said, you killed us. I mean, now you killed me.
You scared us to death.
You know, they were all crying, and I have nothing. I don't know why am I? What is this? Who was sick? Or I figured it was a hospital then.
Why am I in the hospital?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. But there were two things happening at the same time. Something with me and something somewhere else.
So you were talking to Anne Margaret on the telephone. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
So you told them, what is going on? Why am I in the hospital? What's happening? What did they say?
They say that I was, they were called and they talked to them, they said, and they took me in the car, took me in the hospital. And they said, what happened? What happened to you? son, I told him I don't know. I said, I told something to my son and he's ill, but I was not quite awake yet. I said I was God. I was not here.
Did you get scared?
Yeah.
Did you get scared?
I didn't know what was going on really. I had to call everybody. I said to her, what did I tell you the last thing? She said, I have to go. I have to go and pray. But I had already prayed when I was talking to her. I prayed Aisha. I didn't have to. And then Kaula also was on the phone with her we were talking to three people, you know. She said, we were crying, and we said, I have to go.
Okay, that's an example of having confirmation of having the body here and the soul somewhere else, wherever that is.
So when
Confirmation.
God asked Satan to prostrate, he's basically saying he's prostrate with just the body, not the soul, were not used.
Right. This is the idea of prostrate to the human being.
If the soul goes into a few verses down.
Well, the plan was clear to everybody, and so because from this, the information that God gave us, everybody knew what the plan was.
What was the plan?
All the rebels are put to death, and they will be brought to this world, and the angels will serve them and guard them. And then after the test is over, everybody will be either redeemed to God's kingdom or sent to hell.
If it was the plan, Satan was also part of the plan, and then,
Yes?
as he said, God willed him to be like this, so he's really innocent.
He's what?
He's really innocent, it's God's will.
Yes, he's trying to blame it on God. But God gave him the freedom to choose. Because everything ultimately is in accordance with God's will. In other words, he is telling God, you could have made me obedient. God doesn't want robots. And it's not up to Satan to decide that. And we know the law that God does not inflict an atom's worth of injustice. So as God is revealing more and more of His information, and we're understanding the total picture more and more. But what in 20 the devil whispered to them in order to reveal their bodies, because their bodies were down on earth, and he wanted them to get out, get evicted from heaven, and go down to their bodies, which actually happened. The minute they broke God's law, they were sucked into their bodies down here on earth. Also, at the beginning of the plan, since Adam and Eve didn't do anything wrong under the new circumstances, they deserved to be in heaven until they committed disobedience. In other words, they listened to Satan, therefore they belonged in his kingdom, which was prepared down on earth. As long as they listened to God, they were in heaven. The minute they listened to Satan and ate from the tree, they went down to Satan's kingdom.
The body was in paradise when the king covering the body was removed from the paradise. Only needed why didn't we cover the body from leaves from earth?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's see. He swore to them, I'm giving you good advice, which is a lie. He thus duped them with lies. As soon as they tasted the tree, their bodies became visible to them, and they tried to cover themselves with the leaves of paradise.
There was a branch in their hand.
No, of course there were gardens here on earth as well, but we have to look at this waraq al-Jannah. The expression in Arabic is al-Jannah, which is the same expression where they were. Yeah, maybe their bodies were up there in heaven, not down on earth.
Also, Jannah is mentioned for garden.
No, but see the word, it's the same word that is used.
There is El.
Yeah. Al-Jannah. The Jannah, the paradise. Also,
They were there because Allah let them in.
go down there from.
After.
Just that the way I have it in the movie script that I wrote is that God sent the angels to bring a couple 100 pounds of mud from the planet Earth and took it up there. And who was asking about falling prostrate before the body, Mahdi? So this has to be up there.
Yes, body must go up there because after these gases go down on the earth.
This Tahsan just said in Arabic here.
So,
So,
down, it could tell the soul. It doesn't have to be body.
yeah.
But prostration.
If the prostration happens in the heaven, then they can go down.
Then we shouldn't put physical limitations on the body going up there or coming down here. If God wants to move the bodies from the earth to heaven, He'll do that. So we have to just keep this, reconsider this, the position of the bodies, whether they are down here on earth or up there in heaven. But this is a good point, Atif, that they covering their bodies with the leaves of paradise.
Would the Arabic word for body have a different meaning, or is it very specific?
No, it's very specific here. This word is used in a few places, like when Adam's sons, one killed the other one, they said bury the body. It's the same word.
They mistranslate this or
Sawati.
other tafsirs, all of them mistranslate other translations.
What did they say?
The word is said that, what do you say, here, basically, cover. Yes, what area? Genitalia.
Oh, okay. In 24 it says go down as enemies of one another. It says go down. So obviously this is after they saw their bodies. So this is shaping up as having the bodies up there. Then maybe my movie script is correct. MashaAllah. No, iskun. Iskun. The word iskun, dwell, live in.
Listening sounds for a soul, it's sort of limitation, limited here. For the body is more of a limited thing than the soul.
Yeah.
You can dwell the body.
No, but the body was invisible to them. The bodies were invisible, means they're in different dimensions. It's like we don't see the angels or the jinns now, who are right here with us, but they are in different dimensions.
When God created Adam, he created him from dust, water. When he thought about how to Adam, most of the time when you say from the mind, you know it's the body. So when he told the angel, I'm creating
a human from
somebody
clay.
down there, he mentioned there was no other body there, but the mother of the dust.
Yeah, no, now I'm looking at this, that they covered themselves with leaves of paradise is very significant. And then followed by go down as enemies. So go down after seeing their bodies means their bodies were up there.
Isn't that like when we go to the space, we don't feel our weight, but we have the weight?
No, but see, the body has to be protected somehow, and of course God will do that.
I mean, they had the body, but they didn't know that. I mean, they couldn't.
You couldn't see them, yes. The bodies were invisible to them. This is. Yeah,
Also, when you were taken up and found that you saw the other prophets in body.
yes, they looked like the way they looked here on earth.
Pressure. The Arabic expression, ليؤتي لهم ما أولي عنهم من سواتهم. Not in this way. ليؤتي لهم سواتهم. Their body, maybe they part of their body. Their body. everybody.
No, that's because
Because there's a reason, I think, for this.
That's what I'm thinking of. You know, I'm worried on some part was they were aware of, and now this is the part you're not aware of.
yeah, that's what you're thinking. Yes. No, it,
Worried on one, so
Mhm.
that tells me some other part was not worried on.
No, because when you go back, let's see. بدت لهما سوءتهما. So it didn't say بدت لهما ما وري من سوءته. ما وري means the body was invisible. The whole body was invisible. Because if you look at what's the verse number here?
Yeah, right.
27, 22. Excuse me. What is that? 22 says their bodies became visible to them. بدت لهما سوءته.
Oh, yes. That means it means.
But ما وري
Means part.
ما وري does not imply a part of the body.
Mean from me. Mean is
Right. So, but their bodies, their whole bodies were invisible to them. They were in a different dimension, and we're talking about souls. Until they ate from the tree, or until they broke God's law, then their bodies became visible to them. They moved to another dimension. In this dimension, they can see us, we cannot see them.
Who is that?
Angels, jinns, God. It's in the other dimension. But it's interesting that they could not see their bodies.
That's where the soul is out. Maybe it's just expecting.
Their bodies were far from them.
Yeah, well, that was probably the soul is so outside. Outside, they don't care much about the body. It's just that they were a state of, like when you get
Ecstasy.
Yeah, ecstasy. They didn't care about it. Just like
You know, here in this dimension, if we have out-of-body experiences, we see the body.
yeah, I was thinking, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it actually invisible or is it unaware? Could it be
It's
unaware?
probably aware.
No, hidden from them. The word is hidden.
But there's some interpretations they say that eating the apple so they give them knowledge. There's knowledge of good and bad, shame and not being shame. So it's not like it's allegorical, not
Yeah, they knew that Satan lied to them. That's for sure.
Yeah, once they lied, then they became aware of shame, and that's when they covered it.
I would leave the location of the bodies hanging until God. Maybe God will want us to know exactly where the bodies were, but it seems like they were up there, but maybe in a different location up there.
If it wasn't there, we wouldn't have the invisible. When it says invisible, it should be there. It's like I have a hat. When I wear my hat, I'm invisible. When I'm invisible, it doesn't mean I'm not here. I am here, but I am invisible.
Well, it could be anywhere, but the fact that they cover themselves with leaves of paradise, and after that God is telling them in 24, go down. This means it all happened upstairs. Alhamdulillah.
One more question.
Yeah.
We created from dust, very,
And water.
We're and water. When Satan was looking at Adam, so he looked at the soul, looked at the body, that's really the one, isn't it?
Because you created him from mud. Like I said, the God's plan was already known. So God said, I will give him bodies made of clay. I will give you bodies made of fire. So they knew that difference.
It's the same soul, but it's the angels, the angels and human soul, they must be the same thing. It's different, we don't know.
Yeah, well, before that, we were all creatures of God, and I'm sure we were of different ranks or jobs, put it this way, responsibilities. Different degrees of...
The word create means something brand new, you know.
Yeah.
Make a brand new thing, which is Adam. And then ask Satan to go frustrate.
God created the heavens and the earth. The whole earth was new. It came from nothing, and so did the human bodies. Even the souls were created. Allahu khaliq kulli shay. God is the creator of all things.
But these souls were present before this happened. That's why these happened. They went down to earth and stuff like that. So when the Messiah was talking about creating Adam, is Adam already there? No.
Just say it again. Say the question
The
again.
souls were there, the souls of Adam and Eve were there before the body.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes. Because God gathered all of us and had us witness Him as our Lord and Master.
And then He tried to put these souls in a body made from dust and water.
God assigns. Let's think of a human being born right now. God takes one of the souls that have been put to death and assigns it to that body. So the process is happening now. It happened then, except Adam and Eve Adam had to be created initially, and then after that is the human reproduction, and every baby that is born gets a soul assigned to him or her. Obviously, God wanted this story the details to be revealed over a long period of time. Every piece of it is timed. And usually God puts the details in such a way that it will give to every generation a satisfactory explanation.
It's suggested to look at step 27. It has also something to do.
O children of Adam, do not let the devil entice you as he did when he evicted your parents from paradise. He removed their garments to expose their bodies. He and his tribe see you while you do not see them. We appoint the devils as companions for those who do not believe. What do you understand, Cecilia, from this? Yeah. Well, the garment of righteousness, remember?
And so the garment of righteousness is when they disobeyed the law.
They became exposed.
They were able to see the law.
Well, let's read on. Yeah, go ahead.
I was reading the book a few years ago, and this reminds me, in that book, he was trying to explain how our physical body in this three-dimensional world is actually that quality or the only part of all quality. And he was saying, when we are attached with this three-dimensional world, it's like a person in an ocean that he wants to swim up and have some oxygen, but it's like a person that is tied a big rock to himself and pulling him down. Now he's saying that when we were in paradise and we were like a soul, and as soon as we disobey God's law and we eat that from that tree, right there as a punishment, that rock attached with us and pulled us down, and over our body.
That's a good simulation.
The body was exposed. Our body actually is something that makes trouble for us. Another like a punishment appeared with us, and we became a physical being instead of a soul.
Well, I think let's just for the. It will be, I think, sufficient for us. Maybe this is what God wants us to know at this time, is that they were out of their bodies. Their bodies weren't visible to them. They were in heaven. Everything was perfect. The minute they broke God's law, they were back into their bodies. Then the bodies became visible, just like as we are now. But before this happens, until they broke God's law, they were free. They were in heaven. Because the body is not anything, really. So, like when the righteous go to heaven, what happens? They leave their bodies and they go to heaven. And heaven is fantastic. They're having a lot of fun. So this is the way Adam and Eve were. When they broke God's law, they were trapped into their bodies. and then their bodies became visible to them. Now, what we were not sure about was what exactly were their bodies that were not visible to them. They didn't pay attention to them.
But this paragraph heaven maybe changed to earth just that time because it may be because
No. There's no possibility of that because people go to heaven now. So where do they go?
there are many paradises now. But
No, there's Al-Jannah.
yes,
There was one Jannah that Adam and Eve went to. Yeah. There's no Jannah on earth, I can tell you that.
there is another question that always I wonder what the answer for that question. What is the existence of Adam? The existence of Adam starts from the creation of him from mud clay, or before that. Quran doesn't mention the first creation and the first existence of Adam. Just because our first understanding that
143 in this same surah. They all said, yes, we bear witness. Thus you cannot say on the day of resurrection we were not aware of this. When did this happen? Yeah, deep. When did this happen? 172.
after creation of Adam.
No, couldn't be. See, at the creation of the body of Adam, the clay body of Adam, all the humans were dead. They were already put to death, as we see in Surah 67. Okay, we have to put the pieces together now. Let's look at 67. Page 562, verse 2. The one who created death and life for the purpose of distinguishing those among you who would do better. So God created death. Now, the way I see it now, understand it now, is when we rebelled against God, God put us all to death. The first death, remember? 2 deaths for the unrighteous, 1 death for the righteous. We were all put to death with the stipulation that we'll be brought into this life at the specified time and given the chance to redeem ourselves. So when you go back here to 172, God says He summoned all the human race before Him. Obviously they were not dead yet. And He told them, am I not your Lord? And we all bore witness that He is our Lord. So these are some of the things that happened before the creation of Adam's body. And Adam was included in this 172. He was just one of the human beings. So after this was done, and the natural instinct of worshiping God alone was put in us, we were all put to death. And then the execution of the plan started. God created the body of Adam from clay, told the angels fall prostrate before this body. You're going to serve. And then God assigned one of the humans, who happens to be Adam, to this body. Then Eve was assigned to the clone. God cloned a body from Adam's body and assigned the second human being, Eve, to that body. And then told them, you know the rest of the story.
Yes, the word that's confused, Rasha, is the word creation. Creation, I don't know.
No, I said create the body.
Right. Yes, but when we translate in Turkish, creation means just from nothing,
Right.
just create.
Right.
The creation of Adam starts from this.
No, remember the body. Create the body of Adam. But before the creation of the body of Adam, okay, Adam existed.
I think it's not forming Adam, because
no, the creation of body, the creation of Adam's body. Yes. creation of Adam's body, I'm very careful with this, because before the creation of Adam's body, Adam existed.
I think
If you want to go back to the very beginning, God created Adam and you and me and every other creature initially. And we were all wonderful in God's kingdom until the great feud happened.
just now I found an answer to this question.
Let's have it.
If Adam didn't exist before, the expression would be in this way: God created the creature, and they named him Adam.
Right.
Then
There you go.
I created them, yes.
There you go.
I think this is
Yes. So when we put all these pieces together, it is obvious that God created all the creatures. They were all in His kingdom. Everything was going nicely until the feud happened. The feud happened when Satan had these ideas, and then the creatures had different opinions. The vast majority upholding God's absolute authority, a small minority agreeing with Satan. And then this small minority was given another chance to submit. The animals and the stars and the trees submitted, but the human continued to defy God and agree with Satan. And then the creation of the execution of the plan, which is we're all familiar with now. I think the location of the bodies obviously is not relevant. Where the bodies were. The point is they were invisible to them. Until they broke God's law, then they were sucked into their bodies and sent down here to earth to start the test. Yeah.
The idea is just to let us know that the souls are hurled into the body, that each soul has its identified body, and it's put into it because of what it has done.
Yes.
Because it says that, and their Lord called down to them, you know, and said that they had that they had not followed what he said. Did I not enjoin you from that tree and warn you that the devil is your most ardent enemy? But it was just to let us understand that each body, that the body souls are assigned to their body, specific body, and how the process goes.
What is the first thing we do when we come to this world? Right. The soul is assigned to the body, and the first thing we do, oh no. And on top of that, you get a spank. Every baby cries.
I think that's what you're saying. I think more through the out of the body, and then you must have a sense, you know, so the out of the body, as a minute, she didn't care what was going to do with the body, so just take her to the hospital.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Let's throw it in the garbage can or throw the garbage can.
Yes.
And she wasn't aware, take her clothes off, take her clothes off.
Yeah.
But when you put her body, oh my God, my clothes are not here.
Yes.
I think that's the point himself.
What happened?
He
Yeah.
was just out having fun, you know, doesn't care what this little garbage down there.
Exactly.
And once he sucked it back in his body, I have no clothes on, I have nothing on. I mean, nothing to hold.
You asked. This is why I asked you. What was the first thing you asked when you came back? Say, what is happening? Why am I here? What are you here? What are you doing here? What happened?
She's done anything with my body.
Yeah.
She said that the police stopped her because she didn't know how to put the light on in the car, and help her to go to the hospital. And I have no idea. I was thinking, what was inside? I have no idea what's going on.
You did tell her how to turn the lights on?
The police
Did
told
she
her,
say?
I think, or
Oh.
But you know, when you don't care about the body, you make it out.
Right.
This guy told me getting out of his body, out there, he opens his body, doctors pushing his chest, and he's having fun watching them. He doesn't care what they do, you know, he's sticking needles in him, he puts things down his throat, he's just sitting there watching and doesn't care.
But wait a minute, slow down, because this is a wonderful also. I forget that Atif has all these experiences. He's telling about somebody who had an out-of-body experience. And they were operating on the person?
I was having some dental work in his teeth.
Oh, dental work, okay, go ahead.
Even now, all the work in his teeth is just got out of his body, and just his mother was sitting out in the window. And as soon as he got out, you know, the doctor and nurse found this guy doesn't move, doesn't talk, doesn't do nothing. So we called for a Kutni, which is, you know, emergency for my life. And they got the team and they start bumping his chest and sticking needle on him, giving fluids.
And he was watching
outside,
it.
you know, rolling around and having fun watching them together. And these kids, when this doctor was about to die, he just thinks the guy, because usually people don't die in the dental office. He always does that. But so this doctor was so nervous, so scared, like, you know, giving everybody, went outside the living room, the waiting room. And his mother was sitting there, and he left them bumping him, giving him fluids, trying to get him back. And he went there, telling me. I went there, and then I went behind my mother. I sat on the left shoulder, and looking, that's where you say it. I looked at his magazine, she was reading on Newsweek or something. I looked at the Newsweek magazine, I actually looked to see what she was reading. And then after a while, I decided to go back. So, went back, after he found his spot. He went back to his body, so he revived. So the whole doctor and nurse was back. He never got him back, he was just outside. And after he finished, he went to his mother and told, of course, after they got him back, the doctor went to his mother and said, "Oh, we're so sorry your son was in this little chair and we almost lost him, but we worked hard and got him back. So, we're sorry this happened." And you know, before what happened, so after his mother took him back, he told her, "You know, all the stuff happened, I was out of my body, I was just roaming around." Of course, she laughed at him. "What are you talking about?" You know, I told him, "Yeah, I was out. You were sitting in the chair by the window, and I was right there in your shoulder, and you were looking at News magazine." He said, "Yes." "And you were reading an article about so and so." I said, "Yes, how did you know that?" "Yeah, because I was there, I was looking at it." And so I said, "See, you know, at the time he was out, he didn't care about what they do with his body. They stick needles in him, they beat him up. That was fun. I could watch it, having fun. So I'm thinking, you know, it could be like you said, Adam has been outside having so much fun in the paradise. My God, what's going to care about this little thing which doesn't mean anything? And once he started the ending, he died.
Besides, he had never seen his body before that.
Yeah, there's other things. There was a shock. I mean,
Yes.
It would also suggest that this soul that is outside have no record or impression of the needles, the pain, and whatever.
There's no pain.
That's right.
There's no
when
pain.
he goes back in, he has no record.
Actually, this tells us exactly what Jesus felt when they crucified
That's what I
him.
was thinking.
Yes.
He has no.
Because Jesus was gone. This is, I mean, God is, look how God is teaching us. Real life experiences. This is a physical scientist, the surgeon, you know. He's not a spiritual. He's also very spiritual, yeah. I don't mean it that way. But I mean, he's a scientist. He's very critical. And God is teaching us by these. There's a book, of course, that puts all these stories in one book about out-of-body experiences. Some of you may have seen the book. There are mainly people who doctors were operating on, and they say exactly the same thing. They watch the doctors operate in their bodies, and then they decide to go back. Because that's not death. I mean, obviously, this fellow was destined to live beyond that point. But God is teaching us, telling us exactly what the deal is. And this is what we're reading here. Adam and Eve were out of their bodies. They're having fun in paradise. When they disobeyed God's law, they came to this body, which tells us this is how you go to Satan's kingdom. Since you listen to Satan, you didn't listen to God, you belong in Satan's kingdom. So, goodbye. Which we see in 24. He said, "Go down as enemies of one another. On earth shall be your habitation and provision for a while." Which is undergoing the test. I think, yes. I think we have a very clear picture with a few little details that God didn't let us know yet, and are not relevant to our generation anyway.
A few questions, maybe.
Yeah, go ahead. You've been very quiet.
At the time of the feud, all the human beings, all those
Rebels?
all the rebels were put to death.
Not at the time of the feud. There's certain things that happened after that, including this bearing witness that God is our Lord and Master, putting certain instincts in us. Yeah. And you notice, go look carefully again at 172, this same surah. It says, "Recall that your Lord summoned all the descendants of Adam." So God had only the human race bear witness that He is Lord and Master, but not the jinns. So your companion represents Satan's point of view. Your companion will never tell you to do the noon prayer or to worship God alone. Your companion will do the exact opposite. So, but God gave us the natural instinct of knowing about God, knowing that He alone is our Lord and Master. The jinns were the half of the creatures who were closest to Satan's point of view. And they're being assigned to us.
When was the time that Satan was exposed?
I mean, as a rebel?
As a rebel.
This is in 3869. This is the very beginning. This triggered the whole thing. 3869 is in page 457. It says, I do not possess any knowledge about the feud in the high society. And you notice after this, again we're told the story of Satan eating from the tree. So you can see the connection. Do you see the connection? Just read it. Starting at 67. Say, here is awesome news that you are totally oblivious to. I did not possess any knowledge about the feud in the high society, which is called Naba'un Azim in Arabic. قل هو نبأ عظيم. It's an awesome, it's a crucial incident in the history of the universe. 69. I do not possess any knowledge about the feud in the high society. I am inspired that my sole mission is to deliver the warnings to you. Your Lord said to the angels, I am creating a human being from clay. Once I perfect him and blow into him from my spirit, you shall fall prostrate before him. The angels fell prostrate, all of them. Only Satan refused. He was too arrogant, unappreciative. God said, O Satan, what prevented you from prostrating before the one I created with my hand? Were you too arrogant? Have you rebelled? He said, I am better than he. So this is what the same thing we read, except we see it connected with the great feud. So and you see the great feud ahead of this. So it's the great feud that triggered this whole business. Now before the great feud, what was happening? Adam and Eve and you and I were in existence. The angels and the jinns, everybody. And there was no feud. Everything was wonderful. And then the feud happened with the rebellion. الملأ الأعلى إذ يختصمون. The high society feuded. You can pick up in Farsi some of this. الملأ الأعلى is the high society. إذ يختصمون, they have خصام. So, alhamdulillah. This is what triggered the whole thing, is this rebellion. So what does God do with the rebels? The angel suggested put them in hell. The angel said put them all in hell. God said, I know what you do not know. I'm going to give him another chance.
So when kind of looks clear to me, when God them put to death.
So the plan calls for putting all of them to death, bringing them in this earth, having no recollection at all of what happened in the past. In other words, it's a fresh start. It's a whole new chance, and we are given God's message and Satan's message. We're making a choice. But as you see, the vast majority of humans are still sticking to their old rebellion. Why are the people hostile to this? They're not even indifferent. They're hostile to this. You should talk to some of the people that call us on the telephone. And why? They cuss me and my mother. Why? I mean, they never saw my mother. They never saw me. And I tell them, what did I do to you? I mean, and Ihsan, I put her on the telephone, put her through this the last time. And she said, we are saying La ilaha illallah, why are you so upset? And she said, don't you have any neighbors who are saying Jesus is God or Son of God? Why don't you go bother them? Why are you bothering us? We are saying La ilaha illallah, so just fine, go say what you want and we say what we want. Why are you so upset? What else did he say? I didn't forget.
He said Muhammad Rasulullah.
Oh yes, that was wonderful. Yeah.
God close because God says there's no distinction between the messengers. He said, when was the last time you said Salih Rasulullah? He said, does that mean if I said Salih Rasulullah that I don't acknowledge Salih? I told him exactly, if you don't say Muhammad Rasulullah, that you don't acknowledge Muhammad. So
yeah, that was a very good point. He told them, when was the last time, he said, God said, do not make distinction among the messengers. When was the last time he said, La ilaha illallah Salih Rasulullah? He said, just because I don't say Salih Rasulullah does not mean I don't recognize Salih as Rasulullah. She said, exactly. Just because you don't say Muhammad Rasulullah does not mean we don't acknowledge Muhammad as Rasulullah. She got it.
I had a dream
Yes.
2-3 weeks ago, and in the dream I was to Iran and teach some mullah, very famous, there. And in my dream, I was teaching him something that in my God wants to teach me something, because when I wake up I say, oh, I have never idea of this. And I asked him, okay, when you said Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, okay, tell me what does it mean, the Shahadat? And he told me, okay, everything that you see. And I say, okay, we say Shahad every time that we use the Shahada, even in the court or something, you have to see something. And the Surah 7:172, we saw the God, that's why we can say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. But have you ever seen Muhammad with your eyes?
MashaAllah, this is fantastic. Ashhadu is witnessing. I'm moving because of the heat, it's getting too hot.
And when I was telling somebody, and say no, because you can say of the Quran, this is Shahada enough, because Quran is the Shahada. I said no. It's just imagine if you go to the court and you have to see the something and say yes, I saw it. But if you have the evidence, you cannot say I am witness that this happened. You can say I have it. A lot of evidence witness that he is. You cannot say I am witness.
MashaAllah, this is beautiful. This is a breakthrough.
Yeah.
When you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, so I bear witness, or I bore witness, I am an eyewitness to the fact that there is no God except God, and we have it in 7172 here. Because God said, I gathered all the humans, and they all bore witness that I am their Lord and Master. Have you bore witness that Muhammad was Rasulullah?
And also,
MashaAllah. In a dream, mind you.
when in that surah, Munafiqeen, that's why God calls them liars.
Yes, exactly. Say, Nashhadu annaka Rasulullah. We bear witness that you are God's messenger, because they,
yeah, even after I tell somebody the dream, I say, no, it's still that you can say because of the evidence. I say, okay, you can say that we have evidence that the Quran is not you.
This is very profound.
yes, because we were eyewitnesses that God is La ilaha illallah, it's the only God. But we were never eyewitnesses to the fact that Muhammad is Rasulullah.
Now when they say this, they are lying.
Yes, exactly. Because they did not bear witness that Muhammad is Rasulullah.
Okay.
Did you catch this?
I know,
Beautiful.
I'm thinking on this.
Yeah.
Just accept, careful to accept something. How can a person be eyewitness that he is messenger from the evidence?
Right.
No, how?
Right.
Also,
I was going to say that.
No, I am criticizing the subject, and during the time of Prophet Muhammad, when he is alive also, how can it be possible to see that he is messenger?
Exactly.
You don't see that he received the wahi, and also from clues.
Yes. This is what I'm saying, that even at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, this is what the Azhar brought up. Even at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, they cannot witness the fact that he is Rasulullah. Just he's saying he's Rasulullah. And then you think about it, examine the evidence, whatever, and make a decision. But they don't witness the revelation coming down, or Gabriel coming down. This is nothing to witness. Therefore, the only thing is Shahada is La ilaha illallah. It's nothing else. She's sitting there. Well, you've been here almost 24 hours. You didn't tell us about this.
But there's another verse.
Something came up and
The last verse of 22 says,
وجاهدوا في الله حق جهاده هو اجتباكم وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج ملة أبيكم إبراهيم هو سماكم المسلمين من قبل
ليكون الرسول
شهيدا عليكم وتكونوا شهداء على الناس.
About what?
About the man I talked to in Canada, for example, I bear witness that he was a disbeliever. I bear witness that I gave him the message and he did not agree with it. You will bear witness that you will talk to the guy with the beard here for 3 hours telling him God alone, Quran alone, and he wouldn't listen to you. This is what تكونوا شهداء على الناس. You will bear witness. We will be called to bear witness on those people. That we give them the message of God alone and they refuse it.
Shader, that means at the same time to exist, maybe.
Bear witness. You're going to bear witness, like, it's just like in court. You say, yes, I gave him $100, or I saw this person give this person $100. She's bearing witness. Obviously, there will be disputes in the day of judgment. The Quran says they will deny idol worship, even though they were idolaters. So there will be witnesses. Yeah. So everything will be very clear.
Very interesting
Yes,
point.
they lie to themselves. Wonderful, wonderful. I think we'll stop right here and just continue discussions with questions. These are very heavy verses.
That's what Eve creation is. Was this really mentioned Eve was created from Adam?
Yes, وخلق منها زوجها.
I remember that, but I mean, this means Eve was created from Adam.
Cloning with feminine features.
But nothing mentioned at least from creating.
Also God says, ما خلقكم ولا بعثكم إلا كنفس واحدة. Your creation, your resurrection is like one person. Adam is the master plate. You know, in printing they make a master plate, they make copies from it.
Body was created from
Exactly. But Eve was through cloning. You can think of it.
Also, cells multiply.
Yeah. The cloning now is theoretically possible. In fact, they do have cloning from other creatures. I did some cloning myself, by the way, from carrots cells. And I published it in Nature. I forget that I was a scientist someday. Nature magazine is a very respected magazine, and they don't publish anything unless they go through a lot of quality screening. And I had cloned some carrots, tissue culture system, so pictures published out. And we had some copies. Marik's not the only scientist around.
Is this where the picture does the thing grow inside?
No, that's another one. That's a hormone, that's growth hormone. And I put it in a gel block on one side, because this side to grow faster than this side, so it's curved. All of them curved. The one that was not treated continued to be straight.
Let me ask you what's going on, which is related to cloning. You know what? Olga Tronsky, you take somebody's heart, the guy is dead, but his heart's still alive. What kind of life is that? I mean,
nothing, you put it around with a piece of the body is...
But still, it's a live thing.
You talk about the soul?
No, the soul is gone. The person is dead. There's a car accident. You take his heart, his kidneys, his eyes, and everything. And they have to be alive ultimately. There's a difference between a dead heart and a live heart. So what's the life? Think about this a lot. What's the life heart?
Okay, I think
what's the life in this?
Okay, I think what you're talking about the entities of the human person, the components of the human person. And I always eliminate this part. But if you want to really be more specific, the human is a body, a spirit, and a soul.
So actually the
soul, the body is this, but it's without life. The spirit makes the heart pump and the lungs breathe. The soul is the person.
Okay, while I was talking to him, I just remember the guy who was telling you the story about his body. So already he's out of his body, but his body is still alive, but his soul was free. I mean, they played with it, they took his heart, they squeezed it and everything, and it was still...
The spirit is part of the physical being.
Okay, so his organ was living, but he was really sold out. So
right.
You're right, so it has to be a treatment.
Right.
His body, there was no activity, nothing in it, and then a body with activities in it, and then a body with a tree.
Exactly. Look at Jesus, for example. Just look what happened to Jesus. Jesus, the person left, and he left the spirit and the body. They put the body, and the spirit is part of the physical being. He put the body on, and then the body bleeds, and then mechanically there's no blood to pump, so the spirit leaves, and the body is left.
So the spirit leaves the body.
The soul.
Right.
The person leaves.
Yes, the soul leaves.
And then the spirit is You have two entities, the spirit and the body.
Yes, and then the body dies, and
Then the spirit leaves,
but
the body dies.
spirit is a separate entity, or
The spirit is, you can think of it, the word of God that causes,
That's the thing, because you can take a little cell from somebody who died. If somebody died for years, take a little piece of his body and keep it alive for 20 years. You know, get a heart transplant. Take the heart transplant, give somebody.
to keep the heart alive.
but why separate the spirit and the body?
There are two components of the physical being, but they're two separate components.
But when God says that I blew into him from my spirit, then what does that mean?
That's the spirit that's called life.
That causes our body to function.
Right.
That's amazing, because now they take anything that they, sort of say they grow it. You can take a piece of skin and grow it from your own cells, big piece, and put it back in your body. People will burn and stuff like that. Tissue culture.
So the spirit is just like the body, that it has, like the soul, obviously,
It's the person. That's
the
the person.
person and the right and wrong and all that.
Look, this is the right. It is actually this has to be the one. It is the thinking one. It has to be.
Oh yeah, the intellect is with the soul.
Yeah, because the body,
Completely.
the heart of somebody who is already dead and is still functioning.
There's no intellect in it.
There's no nothing in it. It's just.
Once I noticed that all of us, all nations, different languages, without we realize, we admit that when I say I'm not my body, because if you notice, you say my hand, my foot,
Yes.
my head,
Yes.
my whole body is, for instance, hurting.
Yes.
And also, if you realize, okay, what happened if one of my hand gets in an accident and they cut it?
You're still there. Yes.
It's still you.
So actually, when we say my and my body, my this, my that, actually we are admitting that
But I'm separate.
the person is that.
Yes.
I,
The hand that belongs
person,
to me.
Right.
me.
You got the point. Don't you remember people being accidents and completely paralyzed from the neck down?
Just talking about this.
And the whole body is sitting there getting sores and trouble, and the guy say, I know everything. You go to college, you graduate, they have PhDs, and
She was talking about this.
also a year ago they have this guy from some kind of university in Europe who's completely paralyzed. One is a genius in mathematics and is absolutely against God. They just see it this way. And he's sitting there. I don't know, maybe this is the name. The guy he talks through special aids, and they put him in a wheelchair, he can move nothing, and he's there. He's so angry because his whole body is down there. And I think he didn't realize that's not him. I mean, so you know what he's saying. The soul. You can be up to here, but still you have your soul. All this is not born here. Is that
Stephen Hawking.
Yes, Hawkins. Yes. He was on the TV after this.
once again?
Yes. The computer talks for him. It's amazing.
Exactly. That's one. And he goes all over the world talking about his experience and stuff. So it can go all the way.
Yesterday, what he said was, if the rate of expansion of the universe was 1 millionth of the speed faster, we will have nothing. It will be just space now. And if it was 1 millionth of the speed slower, we will be compact to something, and life cannot exist. We will not be here. He said the rate of expansion of the universe is precise, it's so precise.
He doesn't know God.
But he doesn't recognize God.
Doesn't know God. Okay.
And he's sitting there and he has
It's just a little soul hanging in his head,
He really is a genius.
It's funny, it's funny. He met his soul, he's just sticking to this little piece of head, and everything is lost. And I think it shows how much blessing we get, because he's a guy who has the biggest brain maybe in the whole world now, and he's absolutely prevented from getting there. He's just
Just recently in San Francisco, some person died. This one person died. He donated 6 different organs to 6 different people.
yes.
What do you think of it? Is it okay for alive people to just decide ahead of time to donate his contribution?
I wouldn't do it mainly because of, maybe African tell you better than me, because of the humiliation the body goes through. because I have
So
seen it.
what's the difference if you're dead and gone? What,
Doesn't make
what
any
do you care
difference. I want my
what
body cremated and flushed down the toilet. But I don't want it. I don't want them fooling around with it. They hang them like a cow from ceiling, and they really mistreat.
We don't do that.
Yes, they do that. Okay, tell us what they do. Okay, listen to what do they do? If they want to
Take the eye.
Before you get into that, there was a scandal in England that over-enthusiastic, doctors would kill a person.
Oh my
for,
God.
When you say in your driver's license, I'm going to take my car, and you're not already dead.
Let's
but
hurry up.
They need a heart somewhere, and the enthusiasm, they'll just finish you off just to take your heart. And this happened in England, it was a scandal.
These are always rumors anyway. But I always remember this, one time I had a patient in the ICU, was very sick patient. They had a breathing machine, everything, medication for his heart, keep him bumping and everything. And I felt so bad about it. And we had orders, we were training, those orders were half told to the family, told them to donate to the order. And I feel so bad about it. Some people just don't take it well. Somebody, the family member is still alive, and you told him, can you take his heart? And it's just a terrible thing. And it's not so much burden with me to take it. And I remember this guy was so embarrassed, almost, I can even talk. He won't talk to his wife. And I told him, if something happened to him, you need to do this and that. And he was so agreeable, so almost elated. She saw him so fast. I was so suspicious.
They had a fight.
She was hoping to finish him. She just gave permission so fast, doesn't anybody. And I also remember, oh my God, I got shocked. Oh my God, this woman wants to finish him. And I feel so attached to the patient. I really want him to get over this and recover.
Oh, but she hated him.
And, she hated him. When he had so much money, she was going to get out of him or something. And so that's the thing, some people do that to sit there, but they just finish him, and he's hard,
What do you want me to sign? Can you do it yesterday?
But you need to take the organs, you have to keep everything the same. It's just like your surgery, you keep your breathing and everything, and we take to the operating room, take everything out, everything.
What if they say that he's still alive?
No, they don't. Because of course, that makes it very difficult to define the moment of death. There's been meetings and conferences and laws, because nobody knows exactly when is that moment of death is. Who defines death? Who says this guy is dead or not? And I think the final thing they decide to do is check the brain. And these two special EEG, which is a brain electricity waves. And if he lost his wave in his brain complete location, they declare him dead. And we always know here that people been on the breathing machine for years, and they just right there, and they just don't function. The brain dead. And we see them a lot. So if the brain is dead, your body is actually dead. Your heart is still beating, your kidney is still functioning. And it's amazing when people have brain dead. Your body is in excellent shape. If they ever got to the point to be transplant brain, this is the moment when you get somebody back, which has never happened. The brain is so complicated, which actually, most of the brain is the soul. To get somebody's brain transplant, you actually need to transplant a soul in this body. This is a perfect body, except the brain is dead. So these are the people, young, healthy guys in a car accident or gunshot wounds to their brain. And these are the guys who have everything clean. You just take the heart, kidney, everything, and give it to somebody else. So the soul is gone.
The soul must be in the brain.
Connected with the brain.
No, the brain is just the physical.
What's the brain? The physical part that expresses the soul. Probably. What's that?
It's the physical tool. It's like you and the computer. You can think of the brain as a computer. But
you're the one running the computer.
You have to run it.
Yes. if you don't know how to computer, you think there over there.
What stimulates brain to work with person?
See, the brain is nothing but electrons moving around, just like the computer, exactly. Of course, the computer is clumsy. It is a clumsy representation of the brain.
But I've read articles that you can add or remove some hormones with different stimuli.
Yes.
You can.
It's because they affect the function of the brain, but the brain is strictly physical.
You can stimulate your eyes,
alcohol,
of course, there's a map of the brain. This is the foot, this is the hand, this is the ear, and mechanically or electrically you can touch these areas and make what you want, which this is the physical part. But for like you're saying, for you, the real person, you is the soul.
Yeah.
And you're just using this organ for your benefit. You know, using the eye, using the ear,
including the brain. I thank God for my out-of-body experience that I had many years ago, because I was looking at my body down there, it's just like a piece of rock.
The amount of hormone, who determines that hormone? What determines the amount of the other hormone is that hormone? And there must be overall then that determines the amount of hormone in the brain, their circulation.
There is a maestro,
Yes,
we call it.
So what happens if
Maestro,
this person
orchestrates the
has imbalance?
levels of
The soul doesn't work right?
discovery.
So all the physical, if it destroys physical by itself or from other cells, that soul cannot communicate with our world with it. Destroy brain. There are two ways. One receiver, radio, we have receiver, or the other station that, let's say, radiates. And one of them is, how do you say, it doesn't work. How do you say?
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Yeah. You have to have a transmitter and a receiver.
That's when you say the brain is dead. But that's my understanding what the biology knows. That every function we do, is that coming from the brain?
A lot of organs have its own, what we call auto mechanism. You know, the heart can keep beating with a special built-in mechanism.
Doesn't come from there?
The heart will regulate certain things, like how fast it goes, which ones to, you know, certain situation, when to pump more blood and when to pump less blood. So the control, of course, but some organs have their own built-in mechanism, but the brain has to balance them. You know, you have to balance the kidney with the heart with the whole balanced system. If you can one work more than the others, then you lost everything. So the brain has like, you know, so much like you say, like the computer, you have to set it exactly for the second, for millions of seconds, how much blood comes out and how much heartbeat should go and how much goes to your big toe and how much goes to your teeth. And so all this to be exactly controlled. If you lose the brain, this is not really controlled very much. But the heart, I think we've always seen it in chicken when you cut the neck to chicken completely and let it go. It's going to run for a little bit. You know?
Yeah,
the brain is completely.
Yeah, for a little bit, but for a long time. Can they?
No, the human beings the same way.
Oh.
You know, so these people, they have to keep them in machines where the machine does just keep bumping things to the heart and make it come back. They have to keep putting oxygen down the lung against the will and go up. We have to have things work for the kidney, and also for a period of time. After a while, everything is deteriorating because you can never do the balance as much as the brain. Your chemistry completely screwed up when the brain goes away.
Some people still alive when they make brain surgery on birds and take their brain. They still the body is still alive.
Yeah, the lungs are the same way as the heart. It's all mechanical.
Yeah, we were little kids, we used to take the goose lung and blow on it, make fun of it, just the same thing, and they can see the whole thing like balloon in and out. You do the same thing to that guy. So a human being, after he dies, this one keeps going up and down, and his heart is bumping, you know, the blood goes, the oxygen goes back, and then they have equipment where you put special pump inside the heart, and just keep all that closed, and just pump the blood to the heart. You know, so all kind of fancy stuff. And,
But I don't understand. For example, if brain does not work properly, the body's malfunction, the spirit's malfunction, or the soul's malfunction.
Just the body. Body malfunction.
And yeah, also probably, you like one thing, also probably these people we can procure organs for them. They do have some function of the brain that still keep things in additional existence, keep going. But the part which really does do the thinking and real living, which is the soul, it's, you know, I'm sure if you open his head, most of them could find a little bruise and a little blood clot, but the rest of the brain is okay. Well, actually, we look at it this way, the brain is dead, which what actually means is the soul is out. The brain might have been okay, but we don't know that. I mean, you can physically say the soul is out. You can do that. I want to say you can say the brain is dead. The brain is dead, actually the soul is out.
Person's
the
God,
brain is intact, Yeah, but I think God needs to be the brain is intact, as soon as out doesn't work. So.
Yes, you said that when the brain is dead, the person actually is dead.
Person is gone.
It's gone. But maybe there is some function.
Oh yeah, they are functions. They are good.
But if the brain is dead, he's dead. Or she's dead, yes.
I mean, brain is dead.
Sometimes the brain is not dead and the person is gone. Like in the case of Bill Schrader, who lived 19 months without the soul. The body was functioning. The person was eating and drinking and going to the bathroom.
Yeah, because I knew
But he didn't recognize the
someone, I
setting.
don't know, I can't remember the name of this guy. He was something like that. He had some surgery, and after during that the time of surgery, when surgery finished, he was asleep in that time, and then he couldn't wake up, and after that, but for a long time, 10 or 15 years, he was in that situation, and he was dead. Actually, he was dead.
What happened after the 10 years?
And then he
Came
just he
came back.
Dead.
Yeah, well, just a lot of that. I had to, I don't know, it has to be some out-of-body experience. You just love it. You want to come back for 10 years. I don't know.
No, this would be like the people of the cave. You know, they were asleep for 300 years.
Because of that, everybody knew about it.
Yeah, I heard about a few days. They exist. Yeah, about a little girl who's got a car accident. She comatose for 6-7 years. And then one of these days she came back.
Perfect.
And that's why
nothing happened.
Yeah, she comes back. I don't know. I was just reading about it. No, I have no experience with it.
Oh.
You read about it like the same way. But that's why also many families, when they have the loved ones in a similar situation, although they're brain dead, they always hoping for this minute when the loved ones will come back, like these little stories we hear. And most of the time it doesn't. And most of the time your body deteriorates. Sitting in bed, you get blood sores, you get pneumonia, you get all kinds of infections, and your bacteria keep eating your body. You're waiting for it to come back. You know, and nobody knows if you ever come back. And you start seeing your loved ones getting in terrible, miserable shape. I mean, it happens living.
Yeah, but we have this in the Quran. You know, the people of the cave were asleep for 309 years.
But anybody walking the cave,
They came back and said, let's have lunch. Here's some money, go get us some lunch. So they took this ancient money to the market.